I feel bad that you're waiting. If you want to sit down, I'll pass that clipboard around too. We want to make sure everyone gets credit for being here, but if you want to take a seat, then you're welcome to stay there as well, but we'll make sure that that gets circulating once we get started so you don't have to wait.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Weber County. I appreciate all of you being here, and especially those of you who make our county better. The projects that you put forth absolutely benefit residents and people who live here. And I'm Jim Harvey with the Weber County Commission. I want all of you to know that having been involved from your seat or being seated where you are, and then also seeing things from a different perspective, I want you to know that I have complete confidence in Danette Pulley, the chairman of this RAMP committee. I want you to know that I also have complete confidence in the RAMP committee. They're unbiased. I want you to know that the Weber County Commission absolutely has nothing to do with regards to pushing through or putting any pressure on any of the decisions being made. They're a group of, the RAMP committee is a group of volunteers who come and spend their own time to do better for Weber County. And I've watched and sat in on some of the process as a visitor, just as they vet their different projects and the discussion, the dialogue that goes through them, just to observe. And I really have tremendous confidence in them and what they do. So it's you, the folks who put this together, that has the influence on them, and the little things that you do make all the difference. I recognize a lot of wonderful faces over the years, and we're glad to have you here again. I'd like the RAMP committee, if you would, those who serve on the various positions in the RAMP committee, to please stand, if you would, right now, please. Would you also, and use your big people voice, and I'd like you to introduce yourselves, or just where you serve, starting with Danette, and we'll just go around right this way.
My name is Danette Pulley, and this will be my 6th year on RAMP, and I am the chair this year.
I'm Marie Chabot-Thier. I think this is my 5th year on the board, and I'm the chair of the Parks and Rec board.
And I'm Ann Perry, and this is my 6th and final year, and I'm the chair of the Arts.
I'm Missy Fisher. This is my 2nd year. I serve on the Arts and Museums.
Hi, I'm Steve Schoch, and this will be my 3rd year on the board, and I serve on the Parks and Rec committee.
Renee Woods, this is my 2nd year, and I'm on Arts and Museums.
Gary?
Yeah, Terry's 3rd year. I'm not Canada.
Very good. Well, we appreciate all you and everything you're doing, and I'm going to just turn the time over to you, Danette. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey, for your support and being an ambassador of RAMP, and thank you, all of you, for being here tonight. Most importantly, thank you for what you do to make our community and our county better in your programs and in your nonprofit organizations and the facilities that you help to improve and grow and maintain. And all of that together really is part of what makes Weber County such an incredible place to live and so much for all of us to enjoy. So thank you for what you do. Yeah. Oh, did she?
Just a moment.
She'll be back. When she comes back, we will. Okay. Make sure I've got the clicker. So tonight our goal is to take a minute and go over RAMP as a program itself, but then to go over the training for you as you get ready and prepare to submit your applications in January. So as many of you know, in 2004 and again in 2014, you, all of us together, authorized Weber County to enhance recreation, arts, museums, and parks in our community. We're going to pause because you're back. All of this happens because Shelley works diligently to keep us organized and to do such an incredible job to help us with the administration of RAMP. So thank you, Shelley, for all that you do to help this program run. And it's pretty incredible if you think about it. The investment is so small, but makes a tremendous impact. On an individual level, RAMP is funded by a sales tax of 1/10 of 1% for every penny, or 1 penny for every $10 that is spent in our county. And for the average household or the average person, that's $12 per year. And that $12 generates over $3 million that goes back into our community. So it's pretty incredible. And I've got to look at these numbers because they've been updated. So since RAMP began in 2004, over $38 million has been invested back into our community by over 116 nonprofit organizations and municipalities, which is pretty incredible. So thank you for all that you do to make that possible. It's cool if you look back, and I know I recognize a lot of your faces, but if you think back to 2004 when this started and what RAMP has been able to be a part of and collaborate with all of you on since 2004, it really has been part of what has grown the reputation of Weber County and the great arts programming and facilities and what we enjoy today. RAMP has been a huge part of that. We introduced a few members today, but I just want to make sure you understand RAMP is a board of 15 individuals that are all community members. Community members submit an application to be considered to be on the board and are placed on either Arts and Museums or Recreation and Parks Committee. But we all work together. Basically, that division is just who reviews your grant depending on what kind of grant you're submitting. So the advisory board is made up of 7 members, and you can see those individuals there. We review all of the major grants together, which is anything over $200,000. And then the minor grants, which depending on where your application falls, will be reviewed by those board members. So I just think it's important for you all to know who the RAMP board is made up of. Here again is just an overall idea. Each year we had $3,690,000 that was collected by the RAMP tax. There's a 1.5% administration fee, and then the EASY grant funding of $60,000 annually is removed from that, which leaves us and then we had $64,000 given back to RAMP that were grants that had been awarded were returned because they could not fulfill the grant for some reason. So this year we have $3,639,529 that we will be administering this year. Just so you know, again, this is by ordinance. When we get that pot of RAMP funding, it's then divided. A third of it goes to major grants, and again, that's anything over $200,000. And then the other 2/3 is divided between arts and museums and parks and rec. So you can see this year we have just over $1.2 million to administer in major, and then just over $1 million in arts and museums and recreation and parks. Just to give you an idea too, this just helps you know the job that we have before us. Of that 1.2, we get about just over 2.6 in requests. And then you can see the respective numbers there. So it is something, I'll just say on a side note, that as board members, we take the scoring and awarding of these funds very seriously. We recognize it is tax dollars, and there is a lot of dialogue and discussion that goes into thoughtful questioning of the grants that are submitted and making sure that the board members understand and have a really clear understanding of the grant application and what's being requested. I am always impressed at the way board members really take a look at budgets and make sure that RAMP dollars are going to RAMP approved expenses, that the collaboration needed there is there, and that representation of how the budgets are coming together is really something that's reviewed really thoroughly. So one of the first steps in your process is making sure that your program, your organization is eligible for a grant. And this is pretty basic, defined by the ordinance, but an applicant must be a Weber County entity or nonprofit organization or operating a publicly owned facility within Weber County. The nonprofit organization must be a resident of Weber County as well, and needed to be a resident for the 3 years preceding application, just so it's an established nonprofit organization. If the organization or program is affiliated with a university, college, or educational institution, that must serve predominantly the community as opposed to the students and faculty, the application that you are looking at. And it must receive less than 50% of the support from the university. Put those there because they're sliding. So here on your RAMP grant application, you need to decide what type of grant you will be applying for. Some of that is going to be based on what your project is and the amount that you need, and then what you will be doing with it. So as mentioned earlier, major grant requests are anything $200,000 and over. And as you saw, that is a competitive category. We have almost 1 million more in requests than we have funding for. The regular requests for anything between $2,000 and $199,999. And then the easy requests are anything $2,000 or less. So make sure, as you think about your projects, you know where you want to place them and where it makes sense for your organization. And then, of course, is the deciding whether it's parks and rec or arts and museums. If it's a major, it's pretty clear what that is, but you just mark it in the box, but the same category, the same committee reviews it. This is interesting and maybe something that not everyone thinks about, but when you are applying, your mission statement and your board's approval of your mission statement should align to the purpose of recreation, arts, museums, and parks, if that's what you are applying for. Once in a while, we have organizations that run a lot of arts programming, but because the inception of their mission statement to what they do today hasn't been updated, that's been something that they've had to go back and take a look at. So just make sure your mission statement matches and is in compliance with RAMP. And then your project name, that's something that you'll put on your grant application. Just needs to be descriptive and be able to note what it is. There is a note up there, if it's a multi-phase project, please include which phase of the project you're applying for. Just so that, as we dust the cobwebs and we're reading these grants, we can say, oh, I remember this from last year. I wonder if it's the same. So it really does help us to indicate that. And then there's a box on there that you'll want to make sure within your organizations you have agreement on how, if you're submitting more than one, what the priority of your request is. Because those dollars, there's not enough for every application that comes through. So we want to make sure that we consider the prioritization that your organization is placing on your application requests. Here's some budget reminders. The good news is you can use your own budget template. I think that'll be exciting for everyone, as long as we've gone back and forth over the years about trying to provide you with one so